Hello everyone and welcome to our presentation about the new Signage Technician Apprenticeship. I'll start. So I'm Corrie. Basically I work in the sales team, joined today by Clive and Sam and John as well, who train and assess our Signage Technician apprentices. We've also got Jeff Buxton of Sign Express Group, who's the chair of the Trailblazer group that actually led to the implementation of this new standard. So welcome everyone. It's nice to finally be able to present this and to get it kind of underway. It's been a long time in the making. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we'll be providing you with a brief overview of the new standard and how it's a game changer for the industry. Talk you through the benefits of hiring an apprentice and putting them through the standard, and we'll also go through some of the funding support available and the training in more detail, just so you can see how it will make it worthwhile for you. Our live chat function is open, so any questions you have throughout the event, please pop them in there. I will keep an eye on it as best as I can, and we'll answer any questions that you might have. So just a quick overview of who Walsall College are, for those of you who don't know. One of the biggest colleges and the most successful colleges, we would say that, in the industry. And we have over 14,000 people who study vocational technical qualifications, apprenticeships and higher education programs every year with us. Looking at apprenticeships specifically, we work with over 1,000 apprentice employers, offer apprenticeships in a variety of sectors from digital marketing, admin, accountancy, digital media, anything really to hairdressing and mechanics. And we're one of the very few providers to deliver the sign-making apprenticeship nationally. So those of you who don't know about apprenticeships, or you've not had an apprentice before, a general definition of an apprenticeship would be a combination of classroom learning, on-the-job training, which ensures individuals have the required skills, knowledge and behaviours that they need to succeed in their chosen field. So in short, it's the ability for an individual to earn while they learn, in short. So without further ado, I'll stop waffling on and I'll pass you over to the experts. So Clive and Sam will present you with a bit of information about the actual apprenticeship standard. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Corrie. Yeah, the sign-making team is myself, Sam Harris and John Richards. Myself, I've been at the college for 28 years and Sam 3 years and John 8 years. The college have delivered a sign making course since I think it was 1990. We first of all started with City and Guilds courses, then we moved on to NVQs and the Signage Technician Apprenticeship Standard is the latest, and I believe that this is the best and the most robust qualification. I say qualification, although there's no formal qualification within the standard, but it is the best course that I believe that we are going to deliver. So Sam has got a presentation to do for you, so I'm just going to hand you over to young Sam.
Thank you, Clive. So I'm just going to start sharing my screen now, and we can talk through just a brief overview of what the industry is and obviously what we can expect from our apprentices during the new apprenticeship. So as Clive rightly said, obviously it's a Signage Technician Apprenticeship, which is a standard, and we'll just have a quick talk through. So obviously, for those of you that don't know, the sign making industry is possibly, and in my opinion, probably the most versatile and wide-ranging industry that there is. You could cover anything from the examples we've got in front of us, from creative design to fabrication, whether it be wood or metal fabricating, to the traditional methods of production as well, such as neon, and obviously those that are still out there, such as Clive himself, which are traditional sign writers, which would be hand painting and brush painting. So, as I said, there's a few different ways that you can start on a course. Now, obviously, we've got a list here of the different types of roles that someone on an apprenticeship could expect to be a part of. So, obviously, as we've got at the top there, a general sign maker. But this, as I said, can be wide-ranging across the industry. So, whether you are in vehicles and you're a vehicle wrapper, or you do anything that's as far as vehicle signage as well, whether that be industrial or for the public as well, so colour changes or anything like that, it's all included. You can still be a part of the apprenticeship. And as well, as I said, whether you're on installs as well, which obviously is quite a common part and a very big part of recent years, as we've found CSCS cards have become a wider ranging part and a requirement of the industry. And moving on to new sites, it's important that obviously installers have the relevant legislation to be able to go onto sites without any problems and to be able to work safely and legally, of course, as well. So within recent years, as many of you probably know, the sign making industry has migrated into some more radical movements. So whether it be custom printed textiles and wallpapers, you know, last year I remember seeing an upholstered chair that was made out of prints of someone's face. Realistically, our industry has got the capability to do whatever you want it to do. We have the technology to do it, and that's why I personally believe, and it's the best industry you can work in. But I am biased because it's the only industry I've ever known. So that's, you know, I'm maybe I'm the wrong person to ask in that sense. And so you'll notice we've still got level 2 MVQ diploma in sign making running as well, which I'll talk a little bit about later on as well. So I'll just click on. So we've just got a few different reasons here why you would choose Walsall College. As Clive has said, we're one of the longest running, if not the longest running college to supply and deliver sign making qualifications. We've got access to some of the highest quality resources as far as the knowledge that we possess and the experience that we have combined. We are one of the leading colleges, if not the leading college, for delivering the sign making course itself. We've got a very high achievement rate. We make sure that we do our utmost for our apprentices, whether that is moving online as we have done in the past year with coronavirus restrictions. We've done that. We have adapted to our apprentices' needs, whether they wanted to continue learning or whether they felt they couldn't continue learning because of certain home restrictions. We've been able to adapt to that, even to the point of our practical observations, which are still a part of the standard as well, are being done through online means such as Zoom or Teams and virtual recordings as well. And of course, from completing a qualification, there's a diverse range of progression opportunities within the sector. Because it is such a wide-ranging sector, skills can be learned and can be translated into different parts of the trade as well and the industry. So just talking about what we've got as far as progression, there isn't, unfortunately, there isn't a level 4 qualification in sign making. However, the level 3 is the highest that you can achieve in the sign making specific qualification. Now, from that, there's a lot of things that you can do, whether it's moving on to higher responsibilities, becoming workshop supervisors, or potentially even moving into a more managerial or higher responsibility roles, or even if it is literally just for the purpose of getting a student to become a knowledgeable and competent fitter and have the skills, the knowledge, and the appropriate behaviour to apply and complete their apprenticeship and then apply for their skilled worker CSCS cards. Now, this is something we've had confirmed recently, that CSCS will still accept the standard as a part as the apprenticeship, and you will be able to apply either your employees or the learner themselves will be able to apply for their CSCS card. And always, obviously, as is with the industry, it's quite common that apprentices might decide that they want to go and explore a different opportunity or become self-employed of their own accord. So just onto the overview now of the standard itself. So it covers, it runs for 24 months of learning. So that's the time that we will be involved. So from start to finish, we will aim to deliver all of our learning within a 24-month window. That will be done via online and teaching, learning and self-study. A part of that will be a 1 day a week teaching and learning day as such. Now, obviously, this will be delivered online, as we do deliver our qualification across the across England. And to meet that requirement and to give everybody a fair inclusion into that teaching, we will do this online. So sessions can be attended from a phone, a laptop, an iPad, a tablet, whatever it might be that you've got at your disposal. As well, from an employer's point of view, this can be a lot more convenient because the learner or the employee may not necessarily have to have a full day off to attend this learning and teaching. They might just be able to take, right, okay, I need, 3 hours in the morning to attend my teaching with Sam, Clive or John, whoever it may be. And then it will still allow them some time in the middle of the day where they can go and practice some of the skills we might have taught them, the knowledge about in the morning. And as well, obviously, it allows a bit more flexibility for employers that if for whatever reason they do need to change, then they can. However, it is mandatory that they attend that for the 20% off the job training criteria, which is a requirement of the government, so it's a legal requirement. Students will need to have a minimum grade 4 GCSE Maths and English to study at level 3. It's ideal that they do. If they don't, then we can always provide functional skills as a part of the apprenticeship to enable them to complete the qualification successfully. As I said earlier, they will have access to us and our knowledge. And obviously, when I say us, I do mean they will have access to the other assessors as well. If I don't know something, and I believe Clive or John might be more specialised in it, I've got absolutely no qualms in saying to them, can you just give this person a little bit more knowledge about whatever it might be, let's say road traffic signage, for example. We expect a lot of the practical training to be undertaken by the employer. Now, especially under the current circumstances, because we aren't travelling at all or as much as we were, it's important that the employer understands that we will give and we will aim to give the learner or the employee the knowledge that they need to be able to complete a task, but they will need training from the employer to be able to apply that knowledge into their everyday role. And then finally, they will have access to an online learning portal. We've got one which we use called Smart Assessor, which logs all of their evidence of their work and as well tracks any targets that we need to set them across their learning to obviously give them something to aim for, how far they're going through their progress and what work they've completed already. And employers can have an access into this so they can view what we can view and essentially, see what's going on and keep an eye on them, if you like. And then finally, so the last little bit on this is the level 2 MVQ diploma in Signmaking. Now, this isn't an apprenticeship, I will stress that. This is aimed at delivering the MVQ only and is aimed at experienced workers. So those that may have been working in the industry for, let's say, 3 or 4 years, have had a lot of job experience. Perhaps they might be an installer, a this is for them, because it's purely assessment based, and we are assessing their competence of whether they can do their job safely and up to the standard which the industry recognises. As I said, MVQs are recognised across the sectors, and again, if you need to take your MVQ to get your CSCS card, whether you're 25 or 65 and you've been in the industry for however long, this is the option for you and the way that I would suggest. Yeah, so that's all from me. So what I'll do is I'll pass you back now to Corey, and I will stop sharing my screen. There we go.
I have to be careful because I always start talking and I'll be waffling away and I'll be on mute. So yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Sam, for that. I think now is probably the best time to pass you over to Jeff. Jeff is our expert. So as I mentioned before, Jeff was on the steering group for the Trailblazers. He actually chaired that. So he's the person who's our guru and can explain it a little bit more detail to you.
I'm not sure about guru, but thank you very much. Okay, so my name's Jeff Buxton. I'm head of Ops for Signs Express. I also sit on the board for the ISA, and I was chair. And kind of when you say chair, it's more like everyone took one step back and I didn't when it said who wanted to chair. So there you go. So tribal leader, I think, than anything else. Pretty much where we worked from is we were basically going to be a blank page by the government. So we don't want to be refreshing what's there. Start with a blank page. What would you want in an ideal world? Well, we all said. So we started writing a list of everything that we felt that should be done. I've been in the industry for 32 years now, so and I've been around the block a bit. So I've been with lots of different companies and lots of different skill sets. We have some great people in the role. Linda, who was on this call, is now not on this call. I think she was the first apprentice to be signed off ever. Dave Allen was also part of the team that created the last MVQ back in the 90s. Andrew Evans, obviously much loved by Walsall College. So there's quite a diverse range of experience in the room. And the overriding theme across all of us was that we didn't want machine operators. There's a huge advancement in technology over the last few years. A lot of companies just do treat people as machine operators rather than sign makers. That annoys me, really. That frustrates the hell out of me. We also were mindful, and it was touched on in a slide that Sam did, where there is a diverse range of PSPs, print service providers. 30 years ago, you had a sign maker, you had a vinyl guy, you had an engraver, you had a sign writer, you had an edit guy, and it's all kind of merging in now. Lito boys are now involved in this. You've got now internal decor that are doing that. We're doing more papers, we're doing digital signage. So the industry is a whole lot bigger and more diverse than it was 30 years ago. So we wanted to really give everyone a breadth of knowledge on the entire sector. We want them to be solution providers. We want them to have a commerciality and an awareness of what they were making. And we want them to know when you're using monomeric vinyl over polymeric vinyl over cast, why you wouldn't wrap a vehicle in polymeric vinyl or monomeric vinyl, you would use conformable cast. Know when you'd use aluminium or acrylics or non-acrylics for illumination, what illumination means. We've moved away from fluorescents now into LEDs. So know the breadth of the industry as well as what you're making. And we're very aware as well that a lot of the industry are small manufacturers. So whilst there are some big, huge production companies out there, the majority of this network is small manufacturers. So it's giving everyone the breadth of skills. So they might be working in the vehicle wrapping business, but know about fascia signage, know about window graphics, know about architectural exhibition graphics. So rather than just having one niche, one trick, have that breadth of knowledge. Because obviously this is the foundation of your career. So know what that career could mean for you, and it gives you a far better base. So that was a holistic point that we all created. We were allowed to run with that, so we ran with it. So that's where we're at. So now the apprentices of tomorrow, level 3 apprentice tomorrow, will know how much vinyl costs. They will know how to do solution providing. They will know if they're making signage, why they're making that sign, because they've been a part of that. They'll understand that there are different fonts out there other than Helvetica. Understand there are fonts out there rather than just black. And they'll be able to make interesting, diverse signage. This is a fabulous industry. You know, I've been in it 30 odd years. Because it is so diverse, I don't get bored. So it's different roles every day because it's so diverse. It's bespoke manufacture, where you need to have a base knowledge of certain things in order to be able to do a full-rounded bespoke manufacture. So that was our aspiration behind all of that. And I say the team we had with us were able to flesh that out to a point actually where, you know what, we're really proud of it. We're really chuffed with it. We think we've taken the apprenticeship forward as a concept, and hopefully the apprenticeship of next year will become much more rounded people than perhaps where they were heading with just being machine operators. Is the overall goal really? I think the challenge you have is obviously for the smaller businesses, don't be scared. Know that there's again the support function. You know, you got Clive there. Well, he probably did the signage on the arc, didn't he? When that was being built. So you know, he's been around the block. He's that support function. So you haven't got to know everything. You've got an entire support function in there that will help you with it. You've got a supply chain here. So I think there's Mike on there from Sidefabs in the room. You know, the largest trade manufacturer in the UK. Incredibly helpful people. Let these people know that these companies exist. And there's a whole support function around you as an industry rather than just fighting your own, you know, a solo fight. So so know that there is an entire support team which will guide you through the whole. That's it, really.
Thank you, Jeff. Brilliant. I think a lot of you know, preconceptions and a bit of, especially at the moment with COVID and people being a bit reluctant to invest and take on an apprentice potentially, it all comes down to cost a lot of the time. So if I go into a bit more detail about potentially the costs and the recruitment process, and some of the incentives and stuff that is available as well. So I'll just share, as if by magic, my screen is shared as well. Yeah, so next slide would be, do you want to pop onto the next slide for me, guys? Thank you. Oh, back. Oh, yeah, forward, back. That's it. We don't have any hiccups here. We're all professionals. So, finances. I could probably waffle on, as I like to do, for a good hour about, you know, all the things you can find on Google about improved productivity, succession planning for your team, addressing skills gaps. But it does all come down to the nitty gritty. What's this going to cost me? How much is this apprentice going to be? So if you look at my table, this gives you a bit of an overview of the different types of employers. So basically, an apprenticeship is funded by the government depending on the size of your company and depending on the size, the age of the apprentice as well. So if you've got less than 50 staff and you take on someone who is 16 to 18 years old, or if they're a care leaver, or if they have an educational healthcare plan, so that means they require additional support and they've got something from local authority to prove that, then you don't have to pay anything towards the cost of the training of that apprentice, basically. And it's a £10,000 qualification, so you get that for free. The government will fund it all, which is quite unusual. If you take on someone who's over 19, there would be a 5% contribution that you'd have to pay. So, of quick maths, £500, and that is the whole duration of the course, basically. So, normally we'd say either pay up front or you could pay in 3 instalments. If you've got over 50 staff, but you don't have a pay bill of 3 million, which quite a few employers sit in as well that we work with, you have to co-invest and pay 5% of any apprentice you take on, no matter what age they are, 16 or 65, you'd be required to pay that £500. And if you are a large company, so some of the councils we work with, for instance, they have a pay bill of over £3 million and they pay something called an Apprenticeship-Levy, which funds 100% of the cost of their apprentice. There is something called, depending on where you are based, in the Midlands, we have something called West Midlands Combined Authority. Sometimes, case by case, they may support and help you with that 5% co-investment, but that's something we'd have to discuss in a bit more detail once we got the particulars of the company details. National minimum wage for an apprentice is £4.15 an hour. That includes the time that they're doing their virtual training, any time that they're at events, or if they do have to come into college or time doing exams, they have to pay paid for that. It has to form part of their working hours, and it's £4.15 is the national minimum wage per hour. You can pay more, and we always advise you do, but it's up to you really, where you feel that you can kind of invest in that apprentice and what you want to pay them. They have to, for a full-time apprenticeship, work 30 to 40 hours a week, as I probably mentioned, and that has to include the time that they spend training, whether that's the training you deliver or the training that we're giving them. Okay. Next one, so recruitment, that's where I come in. So I look after sign making in general. So we, depends on our employer basically. We can have as much or as little input into your recruitment process as you require. We offer a free recruitment service, so there's no cost. We're not an agency. And what we do is we can advertise your vacancy on the National Apprenticeship website. We will pre-screen all the applicants, conduct initial interviews for you, assess their eligibility, so whether the residence is right, what their English and maths grades are, what their prior knowledge and experience and qualifications are. And then once we're happy that that individual would be suitable for you, we'll then basically arrange interviews. And it's up to you whether you offer them a trial or whether you just offer them an interview and start them the next week. But we kind of facilitate and organise all of that for you. So we take off a lot of the stress of kind of advertising vacancies and a plethora of applicants which are never going to be suitable for an apprenticeship. We kind of can be that middleman for you. So they also work, so if you have a candidate in mind as well, that happens quite often, where we'll have an employer that comes to us that's got somebody in mind, might be a school leaver, might be somebody who's never worked in the industry. We can do a pre-screen of that candidate as well and just kind of be the middleman again and just make sure that they're going to be suitable for the qualification. They understand what they're getting themselves in for. It's a big commitment. It's not just a job. You know, there's work and coursework and assessments and assignments that they're going to have to do. They can't just rock up to work every day, do the job and think that's it. So we kind of address all of that with the individual before we commit them to an apprenticeship. Okay, so that's fine. The next one for me would be something called, and it's almost a swear word in our office, it's the Digital Apprenticeship Service Account. So this used to be something that all levy employers would use basically to fund their apprenticeships, but the government are keen to roll this out to SMEs as well. This is where you access your grants. So if you're taking on someone who is 16 to 18, new before the 31st of March, you can get £3,000 back off the government. If you're taking on somebody who is 19 to 24, it's £2,000. Over so 25 and over, it's £1,500. But you have to set up this account, reserve the money, give us permissions to add your apprentices, authorise your apprentice on there, and basically all the money that you can claim back comes through this service. So it's absolutely, if you are looking to take on an apprentice, you need to set yourself up on it. So if you just Google Digital Apprenticeship Service Account, you'll find it, and you'll probably be pulling your hair out with it by the end of the day, because it is an absolute nightmare to use, but there's no getting around it. If you want to get some of your grants back for taking on an apprentice before the 31st of March, then we've got to set it up. Okay, I think that's it from me. Has anybody got any questions or anyone want to add anything? No, I have been keeping an eye on chat, but oh, okay, let's have a look. I think there is one on here. So, oh, hold on, we're moving around. What's our question? So we've had be the level 2 MVQ for experienced workers. This will be their route for a CSCS card. How long on average, assuming they're competent, should it take? Okay, so it's normally 6 to 9 months, I believe, guys, isn't it, to do a level 2 or a level 3 MVQ only. There is some funding available for that. So we have access to something called the Adult Education Budget. So depending on the individual's prior qualifications, there might be some money available to fund it. If not, it's something the employer will have to fund, or if you're doing a level MVQ level 3, then you can apply for an advanced learner loan as well, which is similar to what you would do when you're going to university. And it's something you do with Student Finance England. Okay.
I'll just chip into that. There's a live scenario going on at the moment. So I'm working with CSCS because one of my pet hates, and I have several pet hates, I don't need to know them now. One of my pet hates is the CSCS card. I hate it. It's the most cumbersome and annoying piece of legislation or guidance that sits in our sign industry. I'm several steps down the track of getting it removed entirely from the sign industry. So that's an ongoing live conversation with CSCS. CSCS is all based around the construction industry. We are manufacturing industry, therefore they want to focus more on the construction industry and want to remove anyone that's not in construction. Is us, we're manufacturing. So we're going through the process at the moment to explain that. The questions will then come out with what does that mean at the end. CSCS guidance is around sign makers not needing a CSCS card at all. And it's up to site inductions from site managers. It might land that they might need a labourer's card, but we'll see where this conversation evolves. But we are inches closer from getting any signage related blue card removed.
Okay, brilliant. That's good news. I think somebody's asked as well, how much is it to just do the diploma only? So the MVQ, the old style. It's around about £2,580. Am I right? Nod, guy? Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So that's a commercial cost that the employer would have to pay, or depending if you did the level 3, you could have an advanced learner loan. And as I mentioned, there's the adult education budget as well, depending on the level of prior qualifications the individual's got. There might be some funding available. So it's worth having a chat and getting in touch anyway. Okay. Any other questions? Is everybody okay? I think that's pretty much it from us, guys. I think we're all wrapped up. If anybody's got any questions or any issues or anything, I will pop an email over to all the attendees just with our contact information on anyway, so you can get in contact with us directly. But lovely. Thank you for taking part today. Thank you, panelists, for being a fountain of knowledge. I know you all are. And thank you, especially Jeff, for taking time out your day to be part of this.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. I'll see you all soon.